More and more businesses are moving to the cloud and sticker shock is setting in. Larry Dignan here with us now to talk about this. And Larry, let's just start with cloud adoption in general.
Okay, so cloud adoption's been really picking up in the last especially the last 2 to 3 years. Spending just keeps increasing every year. And, before you know it, public cloud computing it's probably pretty much a cloud first world now. And basically the big theme for 2019 is that multiple clouds are being used. So this has kind of raised a bunch of issues in terms of how you manage multiple clouds. Also cost containment's a big issue. And it's generally speaking, it's not really optimized to the point where it should be in terms of cost, how you manage the multiple clouds. And so adoption's still picking up, but there's a case of sticker shock going on, and that's a key theme for 2019.
And talk a little bit, again, you touched on this though, Larry, but that cost optimization software, it's in an immature space, but can it be helpful?
Yeah, so with the cost optimization, Gartner's projecting by 2021 or so, there's going to be like 30 production-ready software packages to manage these multiple clouds and manage cost. So right now, like RightScale is probably the best known player in this space. And then there are a bunch of others. And I think it's something you're going to see IBM get into, and Cisco and BMC Software, and a lot of the legacy vendors that also deal with the data center too. And what it's going to get to is getting to a point where you can actually broker which cloud service is going to give you the best prices and sort of manage your compute and your storage. And the other thing that's going on here is the cost equation gets more complicated, because as more folks are already on the cloud, you get the situation where then you start adding machine learning, AI services, and all these other things. And that makes the price transparency even harder. Right, so companies are going into the cloud thinking that they're going to save a lot of money. In reality, it's more about agility and innovation than it is necessarily saving money. And that's where these cost optimization tools are going to come in. And, looking at the RightScale survey and some of the other surveys I've seen of late, this software is going to be pretty important in the future, just because companies aren't doing the basic things they need to do to manage costs in general.
And Larry, if you would touch again on the recent RightScale survey, what did the companies report as being their biggest initiatives?
So their top initiative across the board was optimize their existing use of cloud, which really comes down to cost savings, right? So there's two prongs here. The second one is move more workloads to the cloud, right? So I've seen a few reports from Gartner and Forrester and other research firms, and the general theme is that it's really about optimizing those workloads they have. So the other thing that's complicated the initiatives for 2019 is the other one is containers, which I've seen surveys on that front saying that more use of containers is also contributing to the sticker shock you get with the cloud, because you're not right-sizing the containers, or you're using too much compute when you don't need as much. So there's sort of, out of the top cloud initiatives for 2019 in the RightScale survey, if you took 10, probably 6 of them have some intersection with price and efficiency. And so it's a glaring problem that's going on right now.
All right, and last thing here, Larry, some companies that are just starting to migrate and those that have did this a while ago, what are some basic things that they just need to keep in mind?
Yeah, I think the most shocking thing in the RightScale survey was how much just taking advantage of discounts from the cloud providers, right? Like Google, Microsoft Azure, AWS, they all have these bundles, and if you agree to longer contracts, you get more discounts. There's all sorts of discounting sort of things. And in the RightScale survey, less than half of the customers were even taking advantage of this. And that's at the highest level, right? So the customers themselves aren't even they're not even taking advantage of the discounts the cloud providers are offering. So that's like step one. Look at your contracts, look what you're eligible for, and do that. The other things are frankly just as bizarre, right? Like companies generally aren't aren't automating their policies, so they have compute instances running when they're no longer needed. So that jacks up your cost. They're not running instances that expire, right? So you can put time limits on instances. You're like, once this workload's done, we're shutting this all down. They're not governing the hours these things are running. It's a lot of little things like that. They're not looking at their software licenses and how that applies to the cloud. And a lot of this really just comes down to automation. And that's the key thing. And that's where I think that's where we're going to have to rely on software to do a lot of that, because you're going to have to automate these policies to optimize the prices and costs.
All right. As always, Larry, thank you so much for your insight, and for his full article, be sure to check that out on ZDNet.